Hi guys, this is Gerard here. I showed you a game the other night, and this is one of the beginner games that is very small. It's called Battle for Moscow. It's the rules are right here. Actually, there's an introduction, and it describes what wargaming is all about. But the rules itself are just a couple pages. And the idea is to, the pages is see one here on this side. Let me get it right. This is some examples, and it's how to play. So it's 1, 2, 3 pages of rules. No, actually, we'll say 4. Okay, and this stuff over here is an introduction to board gaming. And so there are automatic setup points for each unit. Right here are the Germans. They set up here. And they're in green. And then this is the Russians. They're Soviets. This is the target. That city is Moscow once again. These gray areas are fortification lines that the civilians dug all around. Reinforced Moscow. And the Germans, it's towards September, the end of September or so. And they're going to make one under Fedor von Bock. They're going to make an assault. The operation is Operation Typhoon. And the idea was to break through these lines, surround and capture Moscow, I suppose. The Germans came really close to doing that. They had able to penetrate all the way down to here around Tula, and they were able to get up and kind of surround Moscow. They just couldn't do it. Constantly reinforcing from this side, the Russians were able to rebuild units, strengthen their units, and actually deliver a shock unit, which is a shock army, which was a very powerful unit. So the game has pieces. You can see that piece right there, right? It's got a 4-4. It can be built up throughout the course of the game to an 8-4, twice its power. The first number is its combat value. And the second number is how many movement points each unit has. And you simply try to get as many units around an enemy unit so that you increase the odds. The odds can be, I don't know if you can see it, but down here, 1-to-1 all the way up to 6-to-1 odds. That would be the numerical number of combat factors against the defender. Then you would roll a die and you would get a certain result, which is either, the defender's eliminated, defender's got to retreat, defender has to retreat and lose a step. And there's ways to surround the enemy to destroy him. But yeah, it's a cool game. There's 7 turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And when the Germans move, I bring that up. And then when the Soviets move, they move second. I'll put that on top so I can keep track of the game turns. In the middle of the game, turn 3 and 4, there's mud. I don't know if any of you have been following the war in Ukraine. Basically, the Russians attacked in mud season, and that kept all their armor off the fields. If you go off the roads, you could end up getting caught in the mud, which is what happened. Right now, they're fighting in mud too. It's been a pretty warm season over there, and it hinders any mobile operations. These are railroads, and one advantage that the Soviets have is they can bring a unit in on a railroad and railroad them anywhere except next to or through an adjacent enemy unit. So they can kind of like quickly shift their forces, whereas the Germans don't have the advantage of rail movement. They do, however, have the advantage in strength initially. So it's going to have a lull. The lull will be during mud months because it affects the attack points are cut in half for a lot of the units, so there won't be too much attacking. But essentially, you can play this game in about 45 minutes. It's a fun game. This came out of part of a fold-out sheet here. I would say I've had this game since 1976, and play it a lot. It's a good game to play solo. It was made by GDW, Game Designers Workshop, which was out of Illinois. A great designer. They've made some fun games. And this is the grandfather of that large game I showed you. So I set it up. One other thing is there are terrain effects. Certain terrain effects shift in the defender's favor. If the attacker's across a river and all his units are across the river, you shift them like, let's say their initial odds was 5-1, it'd be a 6-1. Or, I'm sorry, a 4-1. If you're behind a river here and in a fortification, it would be 2 shifts if all units were attacking across the river. 2 shifts to the left. And that's about it. It's pretty simple. You have to declare all your attacks before you roll the dice for combat. In the first phase, the armor gets to move, and then there is a combat phase, and then there's general movement phase where you can bring up your infantry units. The Russians have a rail movement phase first. Then they have a combat phase. And then they have a general movement phase. It's a little bit different. All in all, a fun game. Little brain teaser. You can play it for years and not figure it out. So kudos to Frank Chadwick, the great designer. He's still around. Have him make it a great day.